Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Um, Today I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight season 14, the reunion part 2. Sadly, we've come to the end of season 14. I think next week there's an episode of Where Are They Now? I'll try and review that, but I'll be on holiday, so I'll do that when I come back. Um, I'll review the couples as I normally do, and I'll also bring in the bits from the experts because they had us sit down with the experts. Uh, I think this part had me sort of wanting a bit more. I wish Kevin had been more sort of not confrontational, but I wish he'd asked more probing questions. I felt he was very superficial in the questions that he asked and didn't really go in as he normally does. Anyway, we'll start off with Lindsay and Mark. Lindsay and Mark for me, it's sad, but they've come to an end, and I think it's best that they come to an end, given the way things ended. It's a pity that they didn't see, though they saw what each one of them brought to the relationship. I think Lindsay wanted to build Mark into the man that she wanted, but she wasn't willing to do any of the work to change into becoming the woman that Mark needed. And so, in that sense, I think I hope she learns from this experience, and I hope she grows from this experience because um, she seems to have developed a better relationship with Olajuwon than the man she was married to, and she seemed to have been willing to be more understanding with him and sort of understand his boundaries, but she wasn't willing to do the same for her husband, which I don't understand. I like that the experts set them down and sort of tried to make her understand. And self reflection is a very good thing, as I've said before. And I think Lindsay sort of brushes over it. Whatever trauma she's been through, they've made her so narrow minded that she is not willing to give in. And I think because of all the hurt that she's faced, she always wants to attack back and make sure that she causes anybody who sort of causes her pain the same level of pain. And I think this is why she and Mark or anyone else she meets in future, unless she puts in the work, will never succeed. The experts try to have a conversation with her. And last week I remember her saying, oh, I needed someone who would sort of tell me that this is enough. And yet when Dr. Viviana tried to sort of tell her, Lindsay, don't do this. This is, you are sort of crossing a line. She wasn't willing to take it. She was confrontational back. And it's sort of like Lindsay has the same problem that Olajuwon has, in the sense that they are quick to say, oh, why don't people, sort of correct me or give me feedback or whatever. And yet when people try to, they sort of shut people down and are so abrupt with it that people just, in the end, just leave them to it and just let them sort of self-destruct. Um, I wish them all the best. I think Mark, if nothing else, will be able to find someone to form a great union with, but Lindsay's going to struggle unless she puts in the work. Or if she does eventually settle down with someone, it's going to be someone who's going to run all over her, and she's eventually going to see what she did to Mark, and I think she's not going to like it. But then, that's me. Um, Katina and Olajuwon. Katina and Olajuwon, it seemed like the show was on a rehab tour for Olajuwon. They were trying to do everything within their power to make him seem more appealing, to make him seem, like a better husband. We didn't get shown him sitting down with the experts. I don't know whether they did this for a particular reason, in the sense that whatever conversations they would have had, obviously they would have had to bring up the issue with Dr. Pepper. And I think because of that, that's why they didn't bring it up. Because he was very. Last week he cried and said, oh, why didn't anybody tell me that you look bad? I personally think it wasn't about him looking bad. And this is where originally sort of there's a disconnect. He doesn't understand that it's not how you look, but it's the things that you do in yourself, the growth, what you learn from your mistakes. And I think this is what he hasn't learned, in the sense that he wants to come across as this great guy. But it doesn't matter how good you look. If you're a terrible husband, you need to be a great husband before people can say you look amazing. And this is what he doesn't understand. And this is why I don't get his relationship with his wife, and I don't get how how she is able to put up with everything that he does, because he's not. In most relationships, you see them like a Married at First Sight, Love is Blind, and you're like, okay, this guy is not a great guy, but he treats his wife very well. Whereas Olajuwon treated Lindsay better than he treated his wife. And I don't get it, that Lindsay and Olajuwon treated each other better than they did their spouses. And sadly for Lindsay, her spouse was not willing to put up with it. And Olajuwon's spouse, maybe she saw a different side of him, was willing to overlook that part of him and continue with him. I don't get their relationship. I'm sorry to say, I really don't get their relationship, Katina and Olajuwon. I wish the experts had set them down, and I wish someone had actually asked them, oh, to say a couple of qualities that they like about each other. Because this is the reason why I haven't issued the proposal last week, in the sense that all Olajuwon talked about was what he wanted. He didn't sort of appreciate his wife, say all the nice things about her, the reasons he loved her, and everything else before he gave her the ring. I wish they'd sit down with the experts. I know Kevin was trying to say all the great things about Olajuwon. I didn't get it. I normally sort of stick up for, my brothers. Like, I've stuck up for Jeffy, I've stuck up for Jared, I've stuck up for Mike, Miles, for Vincent. But for Olajuwon, something is not right, and I don't know what it is, but something is not right. And I remember saying this with Ryan and Clara, that something is not right. And for them to, I hope they don't, I never want them to get divorced, but something doesn't feel right. Something's a bit off with the two of them. That's just my opinion. From there, we go to Noy and Steve. Noy and Steve, for me, I think from the jump I said they were going to be successful, and I've always maintained that their issues are very superficial, and I see them having a lasting relationship, so I'm not surprised that they're still together. I think the issue about not living together, it's something they can work over, and eventually I don't think she can continue can continue to live on her own for too long. I think she's going to eventually going to have to give up that flat, and whatever reasons they're dealing with, they need to go to counseling and get over it. Steve is a great guy. Noi, I think, from the season was one of the lucky people, in the sense that she was matched with a great guy who was willing to put in the work to make his marriage successful, and she as well put in some level of effort, that he said yes on decision day and she said yes on decision day. And I think people are saying, oh, we didn't hear anything about his finances. I think Steve is very financially secure. And because he's very financially secure, I think this is one of the reasons why he went on Married at First Sight, because he was tired of people loving him for his money. And I think this is why he doesn't want to discuss his money. And we will never find out, because people, oh, we want to know how much he has. That guy, I think, is one of the most financially secure people that have been on the show, and chooses not to discuss his finances, which I give him credit for, because I think if that were Olajuwon or anybody else, they would have told us right down to the last coin how much they have. But he has chosen to sort of be vague about it. His wife must know how much he has, and they must be happy, so I'm happy for them. Then we go to Alyssa and Chris. For me, Alyssa and Chris, it was a train wreck from day one, and it's a pity that they even put on the show. And I give credit to Dr. Pepper, because she said, had she known that Alyssa was very narrow-minded, she would never have matched her with anyone. And I liked Dr. Viviana brought receipts and read out her list, because, I don't see where we're matched. Well, I wish they did this with every couple that is not successful, whereby the experts come back to them on reunion and sort of say, right, you say you don't like this person, say you don't like them physically, don't say you don't have anything in common, because this is what you asked for and this is what you got. And I think for me, I think I really like that they called Alyssa on her crap. I really like the fact that they were able to address everything she was trying to say, and sort of she was hiding behind tears and pretending to cry, and nobody acknowledged her tears at all, because they knew she was putting on an act, and she was trying to sort of rehab her character, and sort of it's a bit too late. I'm on the fence. I normally don't like when people stick up for other people in situations they're not sort of familiar with. I remember having an issue with Vincent and Brianna were my favorites in their season, and I had an issue when they tried to stick up for for Chris, after the way Chris had behaved towards the other group, even if they had provoked him, I still felt it wasn't their place to answer. Just as I don't feel it's Katina or Jasmina's place to sort of be there, because they have an issue with Lindsay, to be sticking up for Alicia and say, oh, you need to be strong, be strong. She doesn't need to be told to be strong. The way she spoke about Chris shows she is strong. She is just pretending to play victim so that everybody can sympathize with her. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I am happy for Chris that he divorced and he moved on. I'm just a bit on the fence. I don't think Olivia, they've shown a highlight of him with Olivia from the New Orleans season, and Olivia had her own issues. I remember very well. I know her partner wasn't a great partner, but she also had issues in the sense that she had things she wanted done a certain way, and I think Chris, if nothing else, needs a better partner. I don't know who would make him a better partner. I wish they could have a mixer for all those people that have been on the show and see who gets along and sort of help get the experts to sort of help make sure that it's not just the physical aspect of it that they're attracted to, and actually that there is a possibility that they could have a lasting relationship. From there, we finish with Michael and Jasmina. For me, Michael and Jasmina, I have a lot of things to say and not enough time to say them. I think, this is my opinion, I think Jasmina is downplaying her feelings for Michael. And I think she was hurt by the fact that Michael is the one who said he wanted a divorce. So because he said he wanted a divorce and she didn't want to come across as, or being left hanging, she also then said, okay, fine, let's get a divorce. Because her body language when she sits next to Michael, she is more closer to him and he is trying to keep his space. And I think Jasmina has a bit of Lindsay and Alicia in her, in the sense that some of the things that she says, she's a bit more tactful with what she says, unlike Lindsay, and she's a bit more tactful, unlike Alicia. She doesn't come out right and say, I hate him. But some of the words that she uses, like last week she said, oh, he was very aggressive and I stand by it. And Michael was trying to say, no, aggressive is too strong a word. And the experts were trying to make them understand that what you're saying you fought about is something that happens all the time. And I think their issue was, she kept saying, I'm not physically attracted to him, I'm not physically attracted to him. And he got turned off. And then eventually she became attracted to him, but he was already turned off. And he wasn't willing to switch back on. And so because he wasn't willing to switch back on, that's what upset her. Because if you look at their body language when they sit together, I remember last week Kevin was saying to them, oh, you're too close for a couple that's getting divorced. Most people would be climbing over the edges of the armrest to get away from each other, and yet you are very close. And I like that the experts sat them down and tried to have a conversation of where they think Jasmina and Michael went wrong and why they think there's still room for them to grow back together. And I think Dr. Viviana said, never say never, because you don't know what happens in the future. You may turn around and decide to get back together. I wish, even if they say they don't want to be married, I wish they would go to counseling as the two of them and see if they're really, really, really over each other. And they will be surprised that if they do put in the work with the right supervision and what I've always liked about them is they're willing to listen. Michael will listen and grow, whereas Jasmina will listen, take the bits that she thinks are appropriate, no matter how minuscule they are, and then continue with whatever she believes is best for her. And that is going to be a problem. I wish she could stop, listen to hear and not listen to respond, and that's her main problem. She listens to respond and doesn't listen to hear what people are saying, and I think that's why Dr. Viviana said to her, even in your next relationship, Michael is a great guy, and everybody was telling her when they were saying, oh, what sort of guy do you think Jasmine is going to end up with? And everybody just started picking out qualities, and they all said, oh, and those qualities are Michael. And then she said, oh, you also left out a good communicator. And it's like, you could work on communication. He has everything else. You cannot expect someone to have every single quality that you need. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. It was great. It was an okay season, except for the drama. I wish they could tone it down a bit. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Thanks, guys, for watching. See you next week. Bye.